wonder, like I hate when the microphone's hanging on the outside. I wonder what if it sounds crappy if I clip it underneath my shirt. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is Big Well Vlogs. I do reviews, news, everyday vlogging, and every once in a while I'll do a tutorial. If this video is educational or somewhat entertaining, please consider smashing that like button and maybe subscribing to the channel for new videos when I post them. So I'm a day behind. I am behind schedule. I'm trying to get this video done. I got the maintenance guys are coming by to work on the apartment. I've been playing around with my Cinewhoop, just trying to dial that thing in, and I'm also building another 3-inch racing drone. So yeah, I kind of got distracted, but it wasn't that I wasn't working. It was just that the work that I did I thought was crappy and I didn't want to post it. I've been buying these little action cameras again, trying to find the best low budget action camera for a Cinewhoop or racing drone so you don't have to blow up a $300 or $400 GoPro. And when I find one, I'll be sure to get back with you as soon as possible, because I know a lot of you guys who are blowing up GoPros left and right want something that's a little less expensive. But anyway, I'm back today because in my last video, which I absolutely hated, by the way, I had to change the cameras to my compact camera. I'm dropping stuff. To my compact camera because I had to use a cell phone for the drone, and it messed up the field of view, it messed up the whole look. But anyway, yeah, camera was right in my face, and I told you, I was going to go out after giving my impressions on this bomb of an update, firmware update from DJI. I told you I was going to go out and fly them and get back to you on, whether or not they work and what I thought about them, and that's what I did. I would have loved to make this one whole video where you're going kind of like out seeing me fly, but it is hot outside and the cameras tend to overheat in the hot weather, so I thought I would shoot the B-roll first and then come to the table to talk about it. So I got a list of things that I want to talk about. And these are the main features that I kind of went over in the previous video, and one that I don't think I really talked about. So let's start with that one first, and that is the fact that DJI, again, brought something from the higher end drones down to the Mavic Air 2 series, and that is wide mode. So in case some of you notice, some things have changed because a lot of you have an extreme eye for detail. Yes, I had to come back to the table and reshoot the 4K portion of this video. And the reason I wanted to reshoot is because I was going through the B-roll and I didn't even pick up on this the first couple of times because I was looking for the 4K zoom or the zoom feature. But there are now two different settings for zoom in the Fly app. There's 4K wide and then there's 4K zoom. Did I say that right? There are now two different 4K settings. There's 4K wide and there's 4K zoom. Now, I'm not sure why DJI put in a 4K zoom setting when the zoom feature works from 4K all the way through 1080 and all the different frame rates. So I think that should just be labeled zoom, because when you put it in 4K wide, you can't use the zoom feature. But let's just talk about the 4K. If you have 4K wide, and then you are able to select 4K zoom and punch in, and then within 4K zoom, you're able to punch in again to 2X, doesn't that just make it a 3X zoom? So not sure what DJI was going for here. Good try, but they may need to tweak those settings a little bit. But let's talk about something else. In the previous version, when the zoom versus linear feature or the wide versus normal feature was added to, I think, the DJI Mavic Pro 2, there was some debate about whether or not there was any image quality loss when you use the wide versus narrow or I guess default field of view. So in this particular video, I am just giving you a comparison of the normal 4K wide and the normal 4K zoom. So it's from wide down to probably the 1X zoom. And to be honest with you, because I don't have a 4K monitor and I don't have software that can do pixel peaking, I don't see very much image quality loss. Now, again, I am not impressed by the sharpness of the DJI Mavic Air 2's image straight out of the drone. And I think that may be, a little thing that DJI kind of put in it, because if you had that same image quality or that same sharpness that you can get from their higher end drones like the Mavic Pro 2 or the Mavic 2 Pro, you probably wouldn't go out and spend $1,500 to $2,000 on it. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the FPV mode. Like I said, I've been playing with the FPV drones, and that made me a little bit more interested in checking out, again, the DJI FPV mode. Haven't played with it in quite a while. So I was really interested in seeing, how the FPV mode worked, because I, refreshed my memory on how it worked. And I took it up and I flew over to, the development a couple seconds. I mean, if you really think about it, you can also get some very cool alternate perspectives by flying over a subject or flying around a subject in FPV mode and get that really bird's eye view, like you're an eagle circling you know, a cell phone tower or something like that. Something that you might want to get out and try out. It's a feature. Hey, it's built into the drone. And again, it might give you some cool cinematic shots that you never thought you can get. For me personally, now that I've been flying FPV drones, I like the fact that I can kind of like fly behind things and fly through things and give you those alternate perspectives at the cost of crashing or damaging the FPV drone. But it's a very simple, easy repair. I would never strap on a pair of simple prop guards to my DJI Mavic Air and then try to fly through some trees unless it was a very, very, very wide gap. So the next one was the 4K Hyperlapse. Before the firmware update, I did not realize that they were not in 4K. So it must have been a firmware update that just kind of like bumped up the resolution for Hyperlapse so that you get sharper images. So the next one was the Waypoints Library. Like I said in the previous video, Waypoints Library came out, I think, Mavic 2 series, and that was the ability to save your waypoints so that you could fly the same path morning, noon, and night just by taking the drone out, setting it on the ground, opening up the waypoints, hit execute, and then, you know, it would fly that same path based on the locations that you put in the drone and save them. I went out and played with this. I didn't do a full-on, you know, waypoints demonstration. It's pretty much go out, set up your waypoints. If you haven't done that before, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of tutorials out there on how to set up waypoints. And there is a little button in the top left corner. It's 3 dots, and when you click on that, actually it's not 3 dots, it's actually a little file. It looks like a little file. When you click on that, it gives you the ability to save what you just created as a waypoints plan, a waypoints flight plan. After you save that flight plan, when you go back in, and if you want to set up another waypoints, or if you want to kind of just activate that waypoints again, you just go back into waypoints and your Hyperlapse, click on that file again, select the appropriate file and hit execute, and it will, you know, pretty much upload that plan. I'll have to go out and test it to see how it works, because I know when it came out on the DJI Mavic 2 series, it took a couple of firmware updates to get it right. It wouldn't save. The images were off by like 10 foot. So once you shot it the first time and then you shot it the second time, it didn't line up, and you kind of had to do some tweaking and kind of make it work. But again, it's another cool feature that you're getting from the upper end drones, the 1200 plus drones, down to your sub $1,000 drones. And if it works, it's going to be a great addition to the Mavic Air 2. The next one I talked about in the last video, something that I talked about, you know, extensively, and it was the fact that the new firmware update gave you the ability to do a 2x zoom, not only by hitting 1x, 2x and having it bump in or punch in and punch out in a huge step, but the ability to kind of hold down on the screen and scroll so that you can do a smooth transition. Little bit steppy, but a smooth transition from 1x to 2x. And I had made the statement that you might be able to pull off a Dolly Zoom if you practice. So guess what? I went out and I tried it for you, and it didn't take much practice at all. It just took the ability for you to kind of adjust your grip to the right side of the controller so you can touch on the screen with your thumb, actuate the zoom feature, and then pull back or push forward on the stick. You should have transition from 1 to 2, and it pulled off a Dolly Zoom. Now, the last feature that I think that came out in this firmware update that I want to talk about was the fact that DJI optimized the gimbal settings so that when you fly in sport mode, there are no props in the shot. I keep forgetting how fast the DJI drones are when they are in sport mode. I mean, when you talk about flying, you know, normally when you fly, the pitch on your drone is about like this, and it's flying around nice and smooth. When you flip that thing into sport mode, the pitch is like this, and it's almost like it's flying nose down. And in order for it to fly nose down, that means the props have to kind of come down there, and then you know, the gimbal angles here. So now you got the props in the shot. So I did a couple test runs on this thing, and I flew it by full speed, shocked at how fast this thing flew in sport mode. And yes, I can confirm there will not be any props in your shot if you choose to fly really fast. In fact, in some of these other videos that I just showed you, those cutscene B-roll videos, I was flying in sport mode back to my location, and I never saw even the slightest tips of the props in the shot. So cool, very cool DJI. I'm definitely going to be using these in future videos and future cutscenes and future B-roll. I mean, some very cool things that I can probably do with, especially with that Dolly Zoom feature or the zoom feature, and you know, all the other settings. So hey man, that's all I had for you today. Talk to you later. Peace.